If you fancy a bothying experience, well, you can find links and information on our website. That's bbc.co.uk/countryfile or on CFAX page 616. Now, wandering around Spurn Head, you can't help but notice all around ruined buildings that were once part of the military fortifications. For instance, over there, well, that used to be the site of a massive gun trained out across the Humber to destroy enemy ships and aircraft. With the outbreak of World War I, it found itself on the front line of Britain's defence, teeming with troops and with the special task of trying to stop aerial attacks on industrial targets inland. Well, it must have been a tremendous impact on this quiet place when thousands of soldiers suddenly arrived.
Yes, it's a very small hamlet, really. If you take Kilnsea, it's got about 20 houses in, and to have two army camps, as happened eventually during First World War, was an enormous impact.
And why did the army choose Spurn Head for this enormous concentration of military effort?
Well, the Humber, the River Humber, the estuary, is obviously a very important channel of trade. It led into the industrial areas of the West Riding. It's very visible, and it's always been, in a sense, vulnerable.
This strange construction in the middle of a field is the only listed building here. Back in 1916, it was revolutionary, giving early warning of an attack from the air.
It's what's known as an acoustical mirror or a sound mirror, and its purpose was to detect Zeppelins coming in over the sea, give warning to the military camps just down the road, 4 minutes warning, in fact.
So how did it work? Because, I mean, it's concrete, isn't it?
Yes, but it catches the sound. Just in front of it was an early microphone.
So that would fit on top of this pole here?
That's right, and it was apparently in the shape of a sort of trumpet. There's somebody called the listener, whose job it is to sit in a trench with earphones on, somewhat like stethoscope, and listen for the sound of Zeppelins coming in off the sea. Presumably the Zeppelins were a big threat to industrialised Hull. Well, they were terrifying. I mean, this was the first time that anything had come in by air, and they did actually cause real havoc in Hull.
The Great War was called the War to End All Wars, and when the soldiers left, the locals must have thought they'd seen the last of any military action. But 2 decades later, the forts would be manned again. What was it like here in World War II?
Well, even busier than it had been in World War I. They utilised all the buildings that they'd already got and created a lot more, because the threat now was more from the air. So they had searchlight emplacements, more guns, and they actually used for the first time, really, Bull Sand Fort and Hale Sand Fort, the one out there. And it's believed that the very first casualty of World War II was a Charlie Dunham who was hit by a ricocheting bullet on Bull Sand Fort.
And what was it like for the women of Spurn Head during World War II?
The women who actually lived on the point were involved in a much more active way. This was really on the front line for some time early in the war.
The night was bright, with flares and gunfire, and all hell seemed to be set free in that small corner of England. Then came the moment we had been waiting for. Up went the shell like a bolt of vengeance from the gun. There was a blaze of vivid flame in the sky, a muffled roar, then a scarlet streak. Then came the dawn. No medals, no parade in glory, no barrel to beer. But the boys were not disappointed. The thrill of having made their first kill was all they wanted.
As the war turned in favour of the Allies, the number of soldiers on Spurn Head was greatly reduced. And now the only reminders of those dangerous times are the ruins of the buildings they left behind.